Hello everyone, and welcome to Under the Heatlamp podcast. With me are my friends and fellow co-hosts, Don, David and Kaylin. As you can hear, this week we'll be talking about autonomous sensory meridian response, or ASMR. So,
what was that?
Wait,
what
was
was
that
the
really-
third word?
Meridian?
So that's actually what it stands for. Because I was going to say I have no idea what it stands for.
It does stand for
autonomous
a thing.
sensory meridian response. It's like the actual response you get from hearing it.
It's that good shit.
Mm.
I hated that, George. I really did.
Yeah.
Well, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about ASMR and the community surrounding it. So
I hate
I
the
guess
mouth
you should
sounds,
give it a,
dude.
Well, we'll talk about what we hate.
description of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
before
don't
we
wanna
before we
get ahead of
dive in, Kaylin. See,
Sorry, but I
not
wasn't
used to
ready
not
to
being
be-
the host, right?
Yeah,
You're
I
ready to be
a
aroused.
pleb like the rest of us.
I wasn't ready for that horrible thing, like right out the gate. So I'm sorry. Yeah. Right, what's ASMR?
So are you
then?
anti ASMR?
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it, but yes. But George, what's the?
for those who don't know, and it's probably not very many because ASMR is like a really big thing, but it's essentially just speaking or making noises in a very soothing, subtle way, and the actual word is referring to the tingly feeling that you get when you hear something soothing or something that might stimulate your ears. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Okay, so you and Don have both said that you fuck with ASMR a bit. So I guess could you talk about what draws you to it, or what's the appeal of it? Because I'm kind of assuming Kaylin wasn't joking at the beginning. I'm also an unbeliever, as it were, in the ASMR.
Okay. Well, to clarify, I mean, in terms of the community and stuff, we'll get onto that later. But the whole ASMR thing can be seen as a separate entity to obviously what we see on YouTube, and it is something that you can have, normally outside of the internet. So in my case, I can remember very vividly when I was younger and would be in primary school or whatever, and when teachers would read to me, just certain people with certain voices, when they would read, would give me this feeling, this ASMR thing. I would liken it to almost like a goosebumps kind of thing, where the hairs go up on the back of your arms, and you kind of get this chill almost. So well, if you've experienced it, it's it's more of a feel good thing as opposed
So
to
when
you're
Mr.
frightened.
Mills is reading to you, you're like.
Well, no, not in I'm talking.
I know what he means. I know what he means. 'cause
I'm
it's
talking more
the-
so back in primary school, as opposed to Although, I mean, if this happened I don't know, tomorrow, then it can
You
happen.
might get the same response.
Yeah,
100%.
it's like when you listen
Yeah.
to music or something, sometimes you get
Yeah,
that,
that's
feel
with a
good
certain
feeling.
Listen,
movement, come on.
right?
Yeah, it's the same kind of feeling, but it's through an audio thing where it just touches a nerve, so to speak.
So it's almost the opposite of the nails on a chalkboard or
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
like that. Where you
Is
get
it
those horrible
you know those head spider things that
It's just another.
What?
Fuck off with
It's
this.
fucking spider
No, no.
accessories again.
It's like it's
I know what
like
you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. The massager.
Massager. There's like a spider.
Yeah.
Oh
legs.
yeah. In fact, there's a
Is it-
number of ASMR videos that use those.
Really?
Well, they attempt to.
Also, I was gonna say the feeling that I get from that is this kind of it's almost like a shudder down my spine, and it's kind of good, but I actually really don't like those things.
Yeah.
Or when someone's whispering in your ear.
Yeah. It's that kind of.
it's-
It's that kind of thing. Yeah.
I can almost get it.
I find
with
it very
ASMR.
I find it very sensitive on the other side in terms of nails, writing chalk on a chalkboard or even pencil on paper gives me the shivers in a really uncomfortable, horrible way. And a lot of people have it when they touch cotton wool or hear cotton wool and that kind of thing. It's
Yeah, I can remember Kaylin
Ugh, it
scratching
shivers.
the shit out of my hands one time because he really didn't like me picking up a tissue.
Oh,
yeah, I can see
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I cannot stand the feeling of tissues or the sound it makes when someone touches them with their hands.
Man,
Like,
yeah, I
A
get you.
tissue.
I get you.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
like
very
the coarse
common
paper.
item.
It's a nightmare, dude. It's a nightmare. Also, like old books, the paper. Like I like reading, and since I was a kid, I've had to hold books by the side. I can never touch the paper of books.
Man,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't-
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
I don't have that,
egg
but like the
boxes are
pencil.
worst.
Yeah, yeah, man. Like pencil on paper for me is that same thing. Where it's like
Yeah.
imagine like having to go through your life not writing on paper with a pencil. Like it's a nightmare.
Oh, that's so funny because pencil and paper is literally the opposite. Like I love that feeling.
Really.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say opening a book and flipping through pages is something that I would probably like. Actually, that would be a trigger. So
It's
to
the
speak.
the skin on the paper and the noise that makes.
Mm.
It's the noise more than it's the feeling. Yeah, it's both.
I
It's like
cannot.
you can feel the
I can
noise,
feel
right?
it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the worst. I hate it so much.
Do you like it when old people lick their finger and then flick the page
No!
open? I agree, that's fucking disgusting.
Dude, I once was in Tesco and I bought something, and she did that with the carrier bags, like the woman who was working there,
Mm.
and she did it like with so much saliva, like I could like see this wet patch on the carrier bag that she's given, and I was like, ew.
Was this
Why?
in the last month?
No,
Or-
this was not. This was not during.
Was that
Okay.
was that a five? Did you spend 5p on that carrier bag as well?
I think this is probably like. I think it's like pre-carry bag costing anything. So this is a long
Wow,
time
this
ago,
is stuck
and that's
with
how
you.
grossed out I was that I'd never forgotten this.
Okay. We're going a little bit off topic.
No,
So
we're not done. This is perfectly on top.
Yeah, this
gonna
is-
switch back to George, another ASMR believer. And
Alright.
do you want to go into, I guess, times you felt this outside of
Yeah,
YouTube
definitely.
content?
I think there's only like one time it really happened with like speech that I can remember, and it was in school when like some librarian was just speaking like really softly, like really slowly, and it was like, oh, this feels weird. But I don't know. To me, the ASMR thing, I don't do it because I want to chase, or I don't listen to it because I want to chase the tingly feeling or the trigger. I more prefer it having it on in the background and just having it as like a soothing like thing to listen to, like white
Like a
noise.
comfort.
Yeah,
comfort sort of,
yeah.
yeah.
So in what context do you do that when you're like working?
When I'm
or-
working, working or maybe reading something or in situations where people, when they like put on the TV, just have background noise or something. Sometimes if you hear like some ASMR little, maybe
Okay.
someone's rubbing
Yeah,
a
'cause
book with their fingers.
Absolute silence is quite terrifying, right? That a lot of people use like white noise machines to try and sleep, or have like I've talked about the fan outside my window, and that I'm just kind of used to it now, even though it's
Yeah.
would be quite distracting to someone who wasn't used to it.
Yeah. Well, trying to sleep is a big reason why I, quite a while ago, initially sort of got into it. Because I did want background noise, and I liked hearing talking necessarily, as opposed to music and other sounds and
Get
things
a
like that.
podcast, dude. Don't have some 11-year-old going, hello, I'm eating a hot dog.
I don't listen to mukbang.
Wait, what's mukbang?
Okay.
Oh,
well,
wow.
yeah. Okay,
Maybe
so
we could do a podcast on this in the future.
Is it linked
into
to it?
Yeah,
kind
it
of,
is linked.
Yeah,
It's just like live streaming eating a grotesque amount of food.
But isn't okay. So like, but
it has
that's
a
not
it
just
has
the
a
sound, right?
and a
That's not the
visual
appeal.
ASMR element to it as well. It's visual.
Oh, the visual. I
Yeah,
get you.
there's a visual that comes with a lot of these videos. Yeah, so there's a big the amount of ASMR videos and the genre that they fall into is quite varied. So there is
Okay, yeah, hit us with some knowledge.
Okay,
'Cause
so-
I just imagining like the classic thing where a Twitch streamer is just whispering into a microphone, or I saw one where like a tortoise was eating some food and being recorded. So
Okay.
Is it just any sound, or is it a specific set of things that people are looking for?
it's almost like anything. Like there's specific sounds that people are looking for. Like say like fluttering your fingers next to the microphone or something, or whispering, and then people go out there and create almost like characters and concepts around certain types of noises, and then they'll try and like put them into like a role play of sorts. Do you get what I
like
mean?
a hairdressers or
I've seen
something.
a few
Yeah,
haircuts.
it's like they'll be like
So
cutting scissors next to the microphone, or I don't know. So like, there's a lot of like massage ones. So it'll be like rubbing on skin next to the microphone, and that will usually come with like a visual of some variety. There's a lot of medical exams, so they'll be asking you to like
Medical exams.
yeah, so they'll be like follow as if they're doing like a cranial nerve exam or something. So they'll be like follow my finger, and then you're meant to like
No, they'll
take
be like,
part in this thing.
Follow my finger.
Yeah, obviously not as loud as I'm saying it. I don't have the touch for it, but yeah. So there's a whole variety of genres that a lot of these videos fall into.
So would you say that
it's big?
So would you say the community is it mostly people sort of consuming the content, as it were, or sorry for those listeners out there who heard me cough, or is it more the people who are like trying to create these sounds? Are people like searching for new things? Because I saw a lot of like accidental quote unquote ASMR videos and stuff. So how would you guys describe the community as a whole? Because you're more familiar with it than I think Kaden or I.
It's a lot more, I don't know, in my opinion, it's a lot more disconnected than a few of the other ones we've looked at, because it feels like there is quite a disconnect between the content creator and the listener. There's not going to be much like crossover or interaction between the two, in my opinion. But I don't really think that somebody who's like listening to loads of ASMR videos is going out there and speaking to the people who are making the videos. It's not really that interconnected compared to like another community where everyone be like talking to each other and like part of one big thing. So there's quite, in my opinion, there's quite a disconnect there.
I would agree in one way and disagree in another, in the sense where I don't think a lot of people are kind of conjugating and talking about specific ASMR videos, but I do think with certain ASMR personalities, there is actually, in some cases, a weird amount of connection between them and some of their fans, because a lot of them will have Patreon accounts. And in some of these Patreon accounts, if we got together, 100 squid between us all, maybe we can get an ASMR artist to give us a personalized video.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
What?
Yeah, so if we wanted someone to give us a garlic naan mukbang, then if we put some money together, we can get that done. So in some instances, there is actually a lot of connectivity between the artist and the people who are listening to them.
You say the term artist there, but what does someone like an ASMR artist do that like qualifies them as a, we see a lot of like streamers, I guess, and like YouTube creators, but do they just sort of speak nicely into their expensive microphones, or is it more of like a research, or is it just like anything goes? Anything that sounds nice is,
I want to say
good to go.
It's kind of anything goes, because you get various people who make various amounts of effort. Like I was saying earlier, there were some people who make like entire concepts and worlds like based around characters that present certain aspects and noises that you can get ASMR from. And then you do just have the people who just kind of hang in front of a Blue Yeti like I'm doing now, and making like noises, and that's kind of it.
Sweet sounds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of preparation as well that goes into it. Like, you need to get all the props, you need to practice tapping your fingers a certain way and doing stuff like that, because I imagine for a lot of people, if there's just one like slip up or missed mark, then it can kind of ruin the whole immersion.
I guess if you have someone like donking their mic as they're essentially speaking, it might kind of ruin the effect there.
I always like the idea of like someone recording like an ASMR video, and then all of a sudden like their dad comes in with his shirt off and a tin, like yelling for where the TV remote is or something, like completely ruining everything.
Like the deconstruction of the ASMR.
Yeah.
I don't know, a tinny opening would be a pretty appealing sound right now, I have to say.
Oh, if the dad who walks in was also part of the ASMR.
In on the joke, yeah.
He's like, son,
just sits down. So just like sparks up and like drinks a few tinnies on the screen. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
You hear the rustling of the packet.
Yeah, he's just rolling a cigarette.
Right, so Kaelin, you've been pretty quiet this episode, so I want to know what you think of this all.
I want to ask Kaelin a question, because just before he says it, because I know this is definitely on your mind as the filthiest one of us all. Like, how much of a sexual element do you think ASMR is? How much do you think that is the main appeal?
So it is weird because I've seen sexy ASMR where it's like a disturbingly young girl will be. I saw one where she's acting like a cop pulling you over, but she's really really young and she's wearing like kind of a sexy cop uniform, and I don't want to like link that to the wider ASMR community, but I just don't get it because do you have to link your ASMR interest with your sexuality? Because it seems incredibly separate to me.
There is a lot of that, and I think this is where the community aspect comes in, because a lot of people talk about it on videos and things like that and say that people are giving ASMR a bad name as if that matters to them for some reason. And so you'll get people who are seemingly a bit suggestive. Maybe like a thumbnail is presented in a certain way, or maybe sounds sound like certain things. And then you'll get things which kind of cross the line completely and are very self-aware, where it's like, these fake ears that I'm sucking on is 100% meant to sound like I'm sucking you off, basically.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you get these microphones, right, with these fake ears on the ends of them. And there's a heck of a lot of videos of people just sucking on them.
Yeah, those ear microphones are really popular.
I have no words. I didn't know this was a thing. I'm fucking horrified.
And actually,
How do the general community react to that sort of thing?
Is that
Is it
what
kind of
these
is
ears
it
on my
split down the
microphone?
middle, or
yeah, it's very split. Again, some people lap it up because it's like, oh wow, and then other people
Yeah,
are
yeah.
like, you're clearly, at least in how they visually
sexualizing
present
something that shouldn't?
yeah, like clearly how they're
necessarily
like
overly
presenting it
sexualized.
in the video. It's like, well, you're kind of being a bit too suggestive, and it's no longer
Kinda like
sort of
the
safe
whole-
for work somewhat.
Yeah, the whole Twitch like booby streamer sort of controversy.
It's very
you know.
very similar how a lot of
Yeah.
it plays out. Like in
Yeah,
terms of people dressing up in certain ways is pointed out by others as a means of like being suggestive and you know,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like
And they
that.
get shamed for it.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's also. Do you know who's a surprising ASMR person? Pokimane. She has her regular YouTube and Twitch and stuff, but then she has a separate like account for her ASMR content.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with Pokimane, she's like one of the biggest streamers.
Mm.
I think I don't even know, but yeah, there's definitely like big money in the ASMR world,
For sure.
And-
yeah.
and I think people, I guess, I mean, it's natural you want someone that you like to look at doing it. I guess I don't know.
I will say, yeah, if you are attractive, you do seem to have a bit of a head start in a weird way. And
I guess that's kind of a lot of things, though, especially in the whole.
I know, I mean, it is kind
entertainment
of like
industry.
everything.
Like that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I don't know, I guess if
that's how we all got on the podcast.
that's true, yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
we're all
That
at least
looks-
9s out of 10s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why do you think we're not recording this, like,
yeah.
you know, visually? Like,
If you don't know us all in real life, I will tell you that we are all very, very good looking.
mm,
So we kind of get by on that in life.
yeah.
Yeah, we have no talent or interest, as you can probably
Yeah.
tell from the
Yeah.
the previous episodes.
Exactly. So yeah, we're just kind
Please
of
sponsor us
yeah.
somewhere.
As soon as we
Yeah.
put a picture of ourselves out there, John from Oregon's just going to stop listening.
Yeah.
We're not one of the boys. I'm sorry, John.
Oh, yeah, it's Mark, by the way. And what, Mark?
Oh, sorry.
We haven't heard from you yet, and it's kind of getting annoying. So could you please, could you please shoot us an email?
Yeah, or anyone for that matter. You know,
Yeah.
we put out 2 in the last week, and I don't know if we've received anything.
Well, actually, my girlfriend's sister said she's gonna email us. She listened to it,
Oh my god.
and she's gonna. So shout out to you. I won't say your name because I don't wanna, implicate you.
You want to stay off the grid? As
I think
much
it's
as
because you
can.
forgot, most likely. But
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I didn't. It's a lovely name. Shout out.
Well, that's good because next week my nan's gonna email in as well. You know.
From the
Yeah.
grave.
No,
What do you?
I have more than one grandparent. Caleb.
Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
So
Fucking
ASMR. How do you guys feel about it in general? Just as we, I know we've talked about it quite a bit, but what are your thoughts? I know George and Don said they're sort of fans with it. I'm a bit more not skeptical, but I can certainly see how it's a thing in terms of how the sounds can make you have a reaction to things. But what would you say about the community rather than the thing itself? Because I guess that's what we're trying to get at the heart.
So I will say that I am somewhat part of a similar and slightly more disgusting community.
Oh
on the
god.
internet.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so which I
wait,
think
what?
is a similar vibe, which is popping. Are you guys familiar?
Oh, I
Oh,
can get on
God.
board with that. Kaden.
This-
I can
I
totally get on
love-
board with that. Yes.
This takes the
Down.
cake.
Wait, sorry, David. Were you saying you are on board with that?
Is that like where you like squeeze spots?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm down.
Oh,
I'm
fuck
down.
That's
Oh.
horrific. That's
It's
horrific.
so good.
I
It's
imagine there's
so
actually
good.
quite a bit of crossover.
Yeah, so there's something
Ew.
incredibly satisfying. Like, I am literally salivating at seeing like an ingrown hair being removed. It's like so good. I don't know what it is.
Wait, you
but-
watch it like.
Yeah. Go to.
Okay, no,
Poppin.
I'm gonna go back because I don't.
You
watch
just like
that shit on
doing
the
it.
internet. I like squeezing spots. but-
Okay, yeah, but seriously, you got to get on the watching it.
Fuck,
Because
no
at
way.
first, I
No
went
way,
on the
man. That's
subreddit.
gross.
You
Like,
have to. Oh, fuck's sake!
It's like if you
have
cut your own nails and then you see it's like fine, but if you see someone else's like cut nails, it's fucking disgusting.
Okay, you have to kind of work up to it because at first I could only watch very basic videos and they'd make me feel a bit nauseous. And now I'm watching some. I watched a rat get an abscess removed the other day.
That doesn't sound like you should be working up to that.
Yeah,
That sounds like
really
something you
have to
slowly
train your
slide
mind.
down into.
Yeah. You-
That's true.
You're not allowed to have an opinion ever again.
Sorry. Yeah, let's never talk about this topic again. This is kind of bad because I was like, oh yeah, my girlfriend's sister. 2 seconds later, rat
Yeah.
abscess.
Okay, well,
Helen, let's get back on topic. Like, what do you think of the ASMR community?
Well, I
So, no,
I
the-
think
the
that
reason
kind
I
of
brought
ties
this up-
into it. Yeah.
The reason I
Oh,
brought
okay,
this up
okay,
was
sorry.
because you're kind of like you're completely passively watching this thing that has a really weird bodily effect on you. And a lot of people won't understand the effect I get from popping, from watching like a pimple being popped.
yeah.
And I similarly don't really get ASMR. Like I can't imagine it. But on the level that I can with popping, I can be like, yeah, you could probably get some weird bodily feeling from it. And I think the communities are a little bit similar as well, because it's loads of content creators which are just like in the popping world, it's mostly like dermatologists and stuff who are like recording their like medical practices. And obviously the ASMR is different. People have just set up a microphone and suck in some ears or whatever. But yeah, it's a similar community because I don't think the community really exists like in terms of like interacting with each other. Nobody needs like popping support or whatever, or like really wants to discuss it that much. On the Reddit, people will talk about stuff like this is really good or that's fucking gross or like
Yeah, they share things they found rather than actual,
what was that talk
other
about?
type of
Yeah,
community
like,
interactions.
yeah.
Like.
This-
But I guess to be fair, if you're talking about like what you find like, what's the word, George? Is it like triggers you? Did you say like?
Yeah, triggers.
Finding the
or,
triggers,
like
yeah.
synesthesia.
Okay, yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I mean, hearing about the Patreon thing is really interesting actually because I had no idea that was a thing, but now you say it, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. It's kind of why it has so many parallels to, say, like a Twitch streamer. Because a lot of the channels are very, very personality driven. And I think in some cases it is kind of what makes or breaks an ASMR streamer. Some people, I don't think it is purely about their ability to do ASMR, but it is kind of like the touch that they personally put on
So
the videos, if that makes
So
sense.
would you think it's more of like less of a community such as some of the others we've discussed and much more of like a fan sort of like dynamic?
Yeah, I
If
think
that makes
so.
sense. It's
I mean,
like someone creating something and then people who are fans of that thing they create rather than the wider umbrella terms.
In a
Sorry, I
sense.
just maxed my mic like I was joking. New mic, by the way, guys, if you can't
Yeah.
can't
It was
tell.
sounding fresh. Yeah.
Especially for the ASMR podcast.
Hmm.
But yeah, like it always struck me, it's like you said, where it's like someone who is usually an attractive person in their 20s, like mid-20s latest, doing nice things in front of a camera and saying nice things.
Yeah.
Rather than it being like, I understand obviously you can have reactions to stuff, but if you're a fan of, it's like Kaylin, you mentioned Pokimane. Like I'm not super familiar with her, but I know she's like a big name in the streaming world, and it's kind of, if you're a fan of Pokimane, I'm sure you're gonna like the fact she does ASMR, right? Like it's not necessarily like you're a fan of the wider ASMR. It's
Yeah.
like I like that person doing that thing. I
Yeah.
guess is how I feel about it.
I get what you mean. Yeah, entirely. It's
Yeah.
because a lot of people talk about, they use the phrase ASMR community, and I'm admittedly in the same kind of boat as you, where I don't quite know in the grand scheme what that is. Like, I don't think there's many discussion like platforms out there to talk about ASMR necessarily. I mean, I didn't look for them, to be fair, but it doesn't. I mean, what can you discuss aside from these are my triggers. It seems like something which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
kind of rooted purely in like the YouTube comments of a specific video, and it doesn't kind of go beyond that at all.
Yeah, very insular in that way.
Mm.
Yeah, although I imagine searching, like, there's a big or more of a community aspect when it comes to searching for different triggers, or the more
True, obscure.
yeah, because I think there's quite a big difference, in my opinion, between somebody who is a fan of these ASMR content creators who have these characters or these different scenarios and stuff, compared to people who are like really just looking for a certain trigger that would trigger their I think they call it auditory tactile synesthesia, but having something just be there to make them feel that, rather than be in an immersive experience where they're having their hair cut or something. I think in that sense there's a lot more community discussion and helping each other out and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of like hypnosis, that kind of idea of losing yourself in what you're being told.
Yeah. I think the community is probably less strong in this than some of the other ones. There's obviously like the Reddit and stuff, which kind of will get their own memes and jokes and like way of talking about things, and there'll also be like a language, I guess, in terms of categorizing different videos, and people will know what they're looking for. Well, it's kind of might be a bit of a tangent, but have you seen like the rise of like OnlyFans, the kind of like home porn thing?
Yeah.
It kind of has a similar vibe in terms of community to like users of that. Like, what do all the users of like that website have in common?
Wait, what is OnlyFans?
So you just like pay monthly to do like a subscribe to someone's like, and then they post like,
It's like a cam show thing where
yeah.
you subscribe to them,
okay,
basically.
okay.
It's
Yeah,
like all amateur.
Yeah.
yeah,
pretty
so
much.
you wouldn't
So
call
it's like
like
Patreoning, like
but for like sexy.
Yeah. Think of
Yeah,
like
but
subscribing
sex
to like a
work.
Twitch channel, but it's like
yeah,
pornography,
for naughty
basically.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so
Are we
yeah,
an explicit podcast? I don't really know.
We're explicit.
so, right?
We're
Okay,
posted
cool.
as
Well, I'm not
explicit.
gonna
so.
say anything particularly explicit about this. I'm just kind of saying that like all these people are like admiring the work, but they don't really form a community as such. If you know what I mean. Everyone's like a fan of this thing, but they're not like.
Well, I would say that when you have a group of people that are all fans of one like small, or maybe not even small, but like independent content creator, it definitely feels like a community. Like if you talk about Twitch subs or Patreon
subs,
supporters, like people were talking to each other. I'm sure there are ASMR content creators that have subreddits, and the fans.
They probably have Discords as well.
Yeah, and they all talk to each other and stuff, and like build relationships and stuff through that. And I think that's way more the case compared to subscribing to like, I don't know, Netflix.
Yeah, that's totally true. Maybe you're right. I don't want to dismiss the ASMR community as such. I don't think.
I think it's just drawing a distinction between like the idea of being a community of people who are into ASMR and people who are in a community of like Pokemon fans. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't think it's like we spoke last week, where ASMR seems like a really big like umbrella term as opposed to an actual. If you're a fan of all, you're really, if you were like to take something like football, it's like if you're a part of the football community, if there is such a thing, you're a fan of like all football. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the whole
okay.
thing. Whereas ASMR, it's kind of like you like certain things and you don't like other things. Some things work, some things don't. I don't know. I don't know if that's the best analogy because you can like different teams and stuff.
Well, like we just said,
yeah,
some of us are like triggers or things that we like are literally the opposite to other people.
Yeah.
Like for me, what was it you said? The books on the
pencil
paper.
on paper.
Yeah,
pencil on
like
paper is horrible.
pencil on paper. That's such a I love that feeling. Such a nice tactile feeling. So yeah, there's probably loads of
can't do it, I
discussion
can't do it.
around that sort of stuff. Like
Yeah. I found these videos of someone doing restorations of old paintings. And like it's not meant to be ASMR at all. It's one of these other like kind of unintentional things. But that's just ended up being something that I quite enjoy. But
Do you watch it regularly?
no, it's just one of those things where like maybe before I go to sleep or something, to get into like a comfortable mood or whatever. Like, and again, it's not something I necessarily live by either. It's just like I kind of feel like watching this, so I'm gonna
It's like the
jump
whole
into
Bob
it.
Ross,
Yeah, exactly.
came
Bob
up on
Ross
Twitch,
can be
yeah.
looked at as like the predecessor to a lot of content that ASMR people make.
Yeah, Bob Ross is 100% ASMR. Like, there's no question
Yeah,
about
you're
it.
right. You're right.
Yeah.
I thought about Bob Ross as an ASMR guy.
That's the thing. Like, there is a community of people who search for unintentional ASMR. They're always like scouring the web for like weird noises or stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I think is a good ASMR is, have you seen those videos of the guy making like tiny hamburgers out that like Japanese sweets? It's like a tiny little kit where you get a little like some powder and then you mix it and it turns.
You
into
know what
a
I love
dough.
about you, Kaylin, is like whenever you start a sentence in that way, you just never know what you're gonna say. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we've
it's
had,
like, of course we don't know
spider
that.
ladders, like tiny hamburgers. Like you'll tell us about like weird streams where someone's just like making hot dogs.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like it's a wild ride knowing.
Yeah, you never know what's coming. But okay, so
why
you
is
guys
the
aren't familiar
tiny?
with that.
Why is the tiny Japanese man making tiny?
He's not tiny. He's probably normal size. But
Why is he making tiny hamburgers then? Because surely it wouldn't
I
fill
don't know,
him up.
because they're just quite cute. Like, there's another one where he makes like, it's another channel actually, but he makes like tiny, like full meals for hamsters. So he'll make like a tiny burrito for a
Like
hamster.
like a human meal for a hamster.
Like, yeah, human meals, but like on a tiny scale.
That
for
actually
a
isn't very
hamster.
good for the hamster. Like, I can't imagine they'd eat burritos. Like,
Yeah, no, exactly.
the spice alone would be too much for them.
Yeah, I mean, probably,
It's a small amount of spice, remember, because
Yeah,
it's very
Oh
tiny.
yeah, true.
but it is probably proportionate to the hamster. It's probably like a normal amount of spice. It'd be like giving us a normal burrito, I think.
All right, carry on.
So what was I talking
That you
about?
got some kind of
Tiny,
ASMR
tiny,
effect
tiny,
there.
tiny
Yeah, so-
hamburgers.
Oh yes, from the tiny hamburger guy, because he like mixes like, and then he like press it together, and then he'll like get and then make a little Coke, and he'll pour the little, and then.
But how small are the hamburgers?
Like about the size of a coin in like width and maybe like an inch tall.
Wait, an inch
inch
tall.
tall?
Inch tall.
Like a fucking top hat.
That's a thick boy.
Okay, maybe
You know
half
what
an inch.
measurements are?
And half an
Use
inch.
centimeters.
Okay, so 6 centimeters. No.
Wait, 6
I
centimeters.
don't
Tall.
That's like
Wait,
2
is this in
inches.
Kelvin? Or-
George, can you draw up like a fucking the dimension of something that's like the
Yeah.
2p coin wide and fucking 6 inches tall?
This tiny hamburger. Okay, so it's like a very small, tall hamburger. But anyways, it's quite satisfying.
Wait, it is actually like an inch tall. It is really tall.
No, it's not. It's the normal proportion. So imagine like a 10p coin, and then
Yeah.
that wide, and the normal proportions of a hamburger if it was
Okay.
that wide. Okay, just try and picture that, listeners.
Yeah, okay. Like a really tiny hamburger.
Tiny hamburger, basically. Yeah, like
Yeah.
just the same ratio, like the same scale, but like a just very small. It's like when an architect makes like a small model of a building. And it's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
sure.
scale.
This could have been simplified.
No,
so
it's
much.
not. It's not to the same scale.
Well,
That would be the
isn't it?
tiny. Imagine a piece of food if a skyscraper is like as big as your hand. It would be.
No, he means that the architectural model is to scale. Like,
Yeah,
in
the
order-
architect
Yeah,
wants
yeah.
to scale. Like,
But
the-
how
the
does he
main-
make a tiny like?
Oh, I thought you meant the
tomato?
size of it was in relation to how big a skyscraper is on an
No.
architectural model.
No.
So does he just grow the really small tomatoes so he can cut it to make that nice
It's
slice?
it's all
you know?
it's all made of powders. So like every
What?
single section is like a different powder, like made into like a dough, and then there's like a tiny bit of cheese. I'm not even
Oh,
sure
so
if
it's not
there's
real
any
food
meat.
because,
it
yeah,
is
you-
real food. It is
No, well, it's
edible.
hamster food, isn't it? Because otherwise, you can't give a fucking hamster
like
like
Huel.
meat, cheese, and like.
It's like
This week's
it's like-
podcast is sponsored by Huel. Don't
Yeah,
eat food.
we
drink
talk about
grain.
Huel every week now.
We could do fuel ASMR.
It's how we stay productive.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Do you
sorry
think he
for
can
that.
make a tiny bottle of Huel for the hamster?
He probably could. Yeah, and that Huel would be fucking healthy as hell.
It's already powder, so.
Yeah. Well, hamsters probably eat quite similar food to what is in Huel because it's mainly grain.
Yeah, and then the hamster will
really
be
good
able
for
to do more of his Udemy course.
Yeah,
He doesn't have to go and eat.
Yeah, and he can do the
Then
forex
he can go to the
trading or
other.
whatever.
He goes through one of those little like hamster tubes to the like shed working hamster space.
Yeah. Well, anyway, please sponsor us, Huel.
the primitive technology as well. There's so many videos like that now where it's uncommentated and it's like kind of a breakdown of like an action or like a task.
Yeah. Whenever
I
I was
don't-
at
Very
yours,
measurable.
George, you would always put on videos of a woman making really intricate like dishes. What was that?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like this woman who lives in like mainland China or something, and he makes these like amazing 100% handmade massive banquets, and she uses like just goes to a little vegetable patch and gets the radish, and then goes to the mill and grinds the soybean and stuff, and that is just like no commentary, all sounds, like really nice mic. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that stuff as well. I watch quite a lot of cooking videos, and it's mainly just for, like, the pleasure of seeing something be created in like a pleasant and soft way.
There's actually one Ainsley Harriott video that is like unintentional ASMR. Like it's gotten a lot of views because people put it
Link
in that
in the
bracket.
description below.
Yeah, I'll show
Is
it
that
to
the
you guys
meat,
at least.
giving the meat the girl a rub?
No, it's not that one. He's making like some kind of like pineapple sandwich or something, and
What? Ainsley Harriot's pineapple sandwich.
there's more to it than that. He adds like spices to it and stuff, and it actually looks pretty decent. But yeah, he's like mushing it up in a bowl, and there's like
Doesn't
sounds
sound good.
It does sound very, very good.
Kaylin, do you
You're
think
a
that
pineapple freak.
do you think the tiny Japanese man could make Ainsley Harriot's pineapple sandwich?
We could email him. We could get him on. And
Oh my god, can you imagine if we got him on?
yeah,
Ainsley
That'd be
Harriott.
amazing.
I think he's like
And
proto, he's, like,
the
pre-
tiny Japanese guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll should we have the link in the description for the tiny Japanese burgers?
Yeah, I guess so.
Any,
'Cause-
any
Yeah, yeah.
listeners?
I mean, we don't know
Okay,
this
so-
either, so it's
I'm pretty sure if
probably
you
for the
just Google
best. Tiny
small
Japanese burgers.
hamburgers or making tiny hamburgers or
No, because that might teach you how to make like real like sliders. Or
Sliders,
something. But we're talking weird like packet hamburgers. You can get them in a lot of like Asian supermarkets. The kits to make these, by the way. So anyway, is there anything else you guys want to finish on?
Wait, they're kits.
The kits. What about them?
They like it's like an actual product, like an
Yeah,
Airfix.
it's a product.
it's
You can
called
buy
like
to make a tiny,
what's it
tiny
called?
hamburger kit. I don't
There's,
know.
yeah, there's like a
Oh, yeah.
brand that does it, but I think Video Game Donkey made them.
Shit. Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
It's tiny,
yeah.
tiny little
Sounds
meals that you use weird powders for, and then you mix this powder, and then it looks exactly like cheese, and you're like, what the heck is going on?
Yep. Well, on that note, we talked about ASMR very little in this podcast compared to a bunch of other stupid topics, but
Well-
that is what you tune in for.
Well, let's wrap up this bad boy. What were our
Yeah.
closing thoughts on ASMR community?
ASMR rules.
Okay, Kaylin's giving his thought. Don.
Brilliant. I enjoy. I guess bringing it back to what you said about some people seem to just enjoy aspects of it, but no one would actually say they're like an ASMR fan because it's just so broad. I would agree with that. Like I like
that's
I like these videos like we're talking about the guy restoring paintings and stuff like that, but I by no means want to watch an 18-year-old girl like chew on some rabbit ears.
yeah. For me, that's like it's the most like tenuous community, for want of a better word, because it's. I think it's too wide encompassing to really say the ASMR community definitely it has rules or like there's any sort of like dogma to it. It's just like people like nice sounding things, right? Okay, and it gives people different sensations.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a. I really don't know how much of a community I would call it, to be honest.
I think there is like a somewhat of a community because some videos have like a supporting nature behind them where they're kind of based around personal attention or reducing anxiety and things like that. So that's probably a point that we could have touched on more. But yeah, overall it's kind of vast, really, isn't it? So yeah.
I'm sure we'll come back to it because we will many of these
One
early
day,
ones.
yeah.
George, what are your thoughts?
No, I thought what we talked about was good. I think we're all pretty much in agreement. Although I do think that there is a lot more of a community aspect, just kind of hidden away a bit more, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to finding the obscure stuff. And there is like a shared syntax and all that sort of thing that I think is a big part of any community. But yeah, really glad we had this little discussion. And also, email us or check out
Please.
the website.
No, I was going to say, wait, George, you did an ASMR intro. Maybe you should soothe us out with an ASMR
Okay, let me.
outro.
Let's plug
I've got
the
a book here. Let me just open this.
let's plug the social media first, I guess.
No, in an ASMR way.
Oh,
as
okay.
well.
I'm not going to do that. Somebody.
Okay,
Oh.
right. Hit us up on Twitter at Heatlamp Podcast, and also email us at heatlamppodcast@gmail.com. And also follow the brand new YouTube at Under the Heatlamp, where you can get the latest in video games, movies, and ASMR.
We don't do ASMR content.
We don't do video games or
Just
movies
saying.
No,
either.
we don't do any of that stuff.
Although saying that, when we reach 100 subscribers, Kalen's gonna finally upload his ASMR prostate exam. So
Don't expect that. Bye.
farewell.